Here's the 50 bushel seed hopper. You get 50 bushels on each side of a 40 foot or larger planters. So 16 row and 24 row planters will have 50 bushel on each side. Down inside you can see there's a sensor in the bottom. That is your tank level sensor. There'll be a little light turn on your fold console when this gets tanks level in any of the tanks if they get low. And also notice you have an agitation rod with little roll pins in it, and that's just to keep it stirred so it doesn't bridge over the top of the inlets. When you're filling this thing, whether you're using bags or you're using bulk, you need to apply the talc to the seed as it's being put in the tank. Don't wait till the tank is half full and then throw in a bunch of talc. You need about every 2 bags of seed or so, or every 2 units of seed, you need to use a cup of talc. So about a cup of talc for every 2 units of seed, and you need to make sure that it's relatively well mixed. This is our gauge for our CCS tank pressure. It's a 0 to 30 inch gauge, and most times you're going to want the little red needle running about straight up and down, which is about 12 o'clock or roughly about 15 inches. The range of use is about 10 to 20 depending on your crop, but most times run the needle about straight up and down about 12 o'clock and you'll be fine. This switch needs to be in the tank clean out position anytime you're operating the planter. If you want to clean, when you're doing planter clean out, flip this up and then flip your fold console to transport, then you can engage your hydraulics and that will run the CCS fan with the planter up. The CCS fan turns on once the planter is lowered in normal operating conditions. Now if you need to change your gauge or change your tank pressure, use this. There's your locking ring and then your adjustment knob. Just turn that adjustment knob in or out to adjust the flow to your CCS fan, and that will change your gauge. This is the switch that actuates your CCS fan. When the planter is down, this switch is released. When you raise the planter, it will depress this switch and will turn your CCS fan off. Now one thing you want to make sure is that it is adjusted correctly, and make sure it's not loose on here, and make sure that it is plugged in. Where it's located, we're on the left hand side of center on the row unit parallel arms. This is our CCS fan, our big bulk fill tanks. This is the fan that provides the air that delivers the seed out to the mini hoppers on the row unit. This is the hydraulic motor that drives that, and then this is the solenoid that controls it. If you are going to be moving the planter or you don't have the case drain plugged into your tractor, go ahead and unplug this solenoid as it is now so that this fan will not accidentally turn on. It's imperative that you do that because this motor can be damaged if there is no case drain plugged into the tractor and the hydraulics are actuated. Here we're looking at the clean out doors on the bottom of the CCS tanks. It's probably easier to clean out your CCS tanks with the planter folded because it lets these doors come down much easier. But to open the door, simply remove the latch and pull down on the door. This one's brand new, and you'll notice how it hits on the hoses and things. If you have the planter folded, it makes it much easier to do. But there's 4 of these across each side in the tank, and just open these up, clean out your tank. Now one note of caution, don't open these unless you intend on cleaning out the tank, because once you open them, if there's corn in there, you're not going to be able to get them reshut. You'll just have to clean the tank out to get them reshut. So make sure if you're going to open these that you do intend on cleaning out the planter. Here I've got my clean out for my Pro Series unit, my clean out tray. Once I've emptied the main tanks out of the planter, I can come up to my planter and I can put this little unit on there. Then what I need to do, open my door, take my disc out, then my seed can run down on the tube. I may just have to take my hand and sweep a little bit of it out. It's caught in my chute, and I've cleaned out my meter. So clean out is very simple on a Pro Series. If I have to remove my meter for any reason, I want to make sure that when I put my seed delivery hose back on, I want to turn it in the opposite direction that I'm going to tighten it. So basically I'm going to turn it like this, past a couple holes, put it back on, and then what I'm going to do is turn it and latch it. What that does is it has tension on the hose, which will keep those locked. If these come off, you can throw out a lot of seed in a hurry. So just turn it the opposite way before you install it, and then just help it go ahead and latch. And what that'll do, again, like I said, just keeping tension on that hose to keep it locked. This is our vacuum blowers out on the wings on the planter. the pressure and return for the hydraulic motor, and then this is the K-strain line that runs up to the tractor. This is the pressure-free line, so if it's shut down, if it goes to neutral or not shut down to float, it has a place for that oil to go. Pre-season, you need to take this black cover off, this plastic cover, remove that, and make sure that there's no bird nest or the mice haven't made it home for the winter. Just make sure that there's no obstructions. Look at the condition of your impeller. Make sure that all the fins are on it and they're not eating away. On some of the older vacuum blowers, probably I think it's 2004 and earlier, there's a screen on the exhaust side. You want to make sure and clean that screen out and make sure that there's not a bunch of seed treatment and talc. And throughout the season, if you feel like you're not getting good blower performance, like your vacs are maybe a little bit sluggish or not providing good vacuum, check that screen on the exhaust side, or just take this plastic cover off on the newer style and make sure that your fins are there and there's no debris or talc or seed treatment buildup inside. Attaching the planter to the tractor, here's one of the most important hoses if you have a CCS planter. This is the K-strain hose, which is a pressure-free K-strain back to the tractor. Now the end on the tractor will probably be located, if you have an 8 or 9000 series, the 8000 will be below the valve stack, your hydraulic valve stack. On a 9000 it'll be mounted above the valve stack on a bracket. But that's what the piece on the tractor will look like this. The hose on the planter will look like this. This is the first hose you need to connect when you hook up the planter, because anytime the planter is hooked hydraulically to the tractor, this hose needs to be connected. Here's your vacuum plugs where it folds around. This is what connects your vacuum to the vacuum blowers. There's a plug in here as well as on the other side. Make sure you take those out before you start, and then make sure that if you're going to leave the planter sit to where birds can get to it, you need to put those back in. Birds will build a nest in here in a very short amount of time. So something to keep in mind is keep these plugs in there when you're not using the planter.